Hello everyone, Giltar here with a video on a point of discussion that has been something I've been thinking about over the last few days. And the discussion topic, the question simply is, as a hobbyist, so what we're talking about are things like toy collecting or model kit building, but it can involve any other similar hobbies such as, um, you know, being a film buff, a fan of animation, of cartoons, an avid reader of particular kinds of fiction, a comic book reader, things like that. As a fan of some sort, as a hobbyist of some sort, how have your sensibilities, have your preferences, your tastes, your perspectives, how have they, if they have, changed over a period of time, perhaps since you first got into your hobbies? Now, for myself, I'll be focusing on my hobby as a toy collector. Um, and the reason why I've been thinking about this is that I've recently announced a large sale of a large portion of my toy collection, most of which are my high end Japanese toys. And I've been asked by quite a few people through the comments in my sales videos, through private messages, basically various things along the lines of, why are you doing this? Do you need the money? Um, if it's a case of needing more space to display your collection instead of putting it in the storage, you could, definitely get a clear display cabinet from a place like IKEA, or like it's 1985, for example, a fellow YouTuber and a fellow reviewer, a great guy, asked me, what kind of toys are you interested in now? Because I'm seeing that you're selling a lot of your Japanese toys. And the answer to all these things really comes down to, I think I've become more sort of, I guess, uh, in a way, honest with my motivations between, or because, or for rather, my toy collecting hobby. And what I mean by this is that when I started collecting toys several years ago, it was because I was an adult who was reminded of the enjoyment that I was able to experience as a child playing around with toys and, simply having a sense of wonder and using my imagination and enjoying the fiction that accompanied these toys I played with. The cartoons, the comic books, the novels, the video games, everything else. I was able to be reminded of this, and it was really the Transformers movie that came out in 19, or rather not 19, but 2007, the live action movie, that helped to reignite and rekindle my interest in these properties as an adult. And over time, it just snowballed and went from there. And the thing is that when I first got back into toy collecting, or rather got into toy collecting, it was first for the nostalgic connection. And then it became a more refined sense of, I guess, taste. And I developed my own preferences. As people who have watched my videos over, the period of time since I started the YouTube channel I have here, you'll know that I'm someone who really appreciates articulation, for example. Toy engineering and design. Those are things I really like about these things. And to a degree, that sort of led me to the path of going into higher end toys because of the greater level of design, of engineering, of craftsmanship, greater degrees in general of likeness to the source material, appropriate accessory selection, just everything that is associated with the traits of high-end toys were things that I appreciated. Now, the problem with that is that over time, I no longer collected toys and action figures or similar products because I simply wanted to. Rather, it became a sort of, these things became vanity pieces in my collection. These things became a way for me to justify to myself, okay, you're an adult and you're buying toys. Why are you doing this? And I sort of, I guess, lost my way, so to speak. And rather than being a matter of just truth and sincerity in buying these things because I just enjoy them, I think they're cool, and I think they're fun, it became a scenario of I buy these things because I want to be more sophisticated in my hobby. So I'm buying high-end action figures, and these things have greater degrees of everything, of design, of production, These things are expensive. They're foreign to me because they're from Japan and I live in Canada, for example. And so it became a way of me justifying to myself this hobby because I felt, honestly, insecurities. I was trying to reconcile my desire as an adult to collect toys with the socially ingrained notion that toys are only for kids and they should only be for kids, and that these things are without merit or value because adults shouldn't and don't need toys. They shouldn't need them, they don't need them, and they look down upon these things. And I understand that. I mean, at least in North America, at least in Canadian culture, toys are meant for kids normally. So that is the cultural and social norm. But, because I had this sort of conflict within myself in terms of my, inability to rationalize completely why I do what I do at that point, at least. Like I said, when I first began collecting toys, it was really for more pure and in some ways naive reasons. I sort of got blinded along the way. And it's not to say I don't enjoy or have lost my enjoyment of high-end toys, but they're not really my main interest in toy collecting. I enjoy them for what they are, and I will still collect them, but they are not something that I'm truly, truly, I guess, uh, completely enthusiastic with. Um, Again, they became vanity pieces in my collection. But they weren't, they became museum pieces. They became things that I had distance from. Like, I would open up the packages when I received them of like my high-end figures, and I would examine them. I would, play around them with them, play around with them a little bit just to pose them and whatever. And they would go on my display shelf for some time, maybe a week, maybe a month, but inevitably they would always go back into the packaging, and then the boxes will go back into the shipment cardboard boxes I received them in, and these things eventually became filled with my high-end toys, and they went into storage. The only things that I would keep out on display on a regular basis, and things that I would pick up and have a regular and ongoing, I guess, tactile relationship with, in terms of just picking up a toy and playing around with it and just setting it back down, would be my normal, quote unquote, low end, midline toys, not my high end toys. And over the last year and a half or so, when I look back upon it, I realize that I really have stopped nearly altogether of collecting high end toys. The only things I really kept up with collecting on a occasional basis, I guess, an occasional basis, would be Masterpiece Transformers figures and NECA or NECA toys. Everything else, like my Revoltech, Figma, SH Figuarts, Robot Damashi, all those things, pretty much I stopped buying them. And again, it was because, I guess on an unconscious, subconscious level, I sort of realized that these things weren't driving my toy collecting passion anymore. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with them. I still enjoy them for what they are, and I don't regret buying them, but I just don't have a place for them in my collection anymore. And that's why I'm selling them, and that's why I want to sell them to people who can give them a good home, who can give them the proper appreciation that these things deserve. I mean, these high-end figures, they're wonderful pieces of, technology, of art. I mean, when you come down to it, these are often really good, like extremely impressive representations of the source material. But again, it's just they seem inherently almost like untouchable. Again, they're like museum pieces that they're meant to be looked at but not touched. I collect toys because I enjoy the experience of the toy, of the experience of play, of picking something up and having that tactile experience, that tactile feedback of playing around with a toy. And that's something I really can't get with high-end toys, for the most part. And I'm not going to stop collecting high-end toys. I still intend to collect them, but definitely not anywhere near the degree which I used to collect these things. As you can see here, the things that really have stayed on my radar ever since I began collecting several years ago was the normal toys, the mainline toys that I am, I guess, that I feel a connection to from childhood. Things like Transformers and G.I. Joes. Things like the toys that represent superhero characters that I read as a child. These things are what interest me, which, I'm still passionate about and increasingly passionate about. These things are what I'm able to get pure enjoyment out of. And I think overall, it's not so much that my sensibilities and perspective has changed greatly. It's just that it's gone through a cycle or a journey. I started off with a pure, I guess, open-eyed, naive approach to toy collecting. I went to a phase of, a refined sense of preference. And then I sort of came back to earth again and acknowledged the honest to goodness reasons why I enjoy things like toys, comic books, cartoons, any piece of fiction that can help me, um, wonder and imagine things. These are the things that interest me, and that's why I'm doing things like selling off my toy collection, the high-end toys at least. And rather than saying it necessarily changed my tastes or interests, I think I would say or explain it as my tastes, or rather my journey as a toy collector has come full circle. I've come back to, the root of the matter and got back to the basics and to the honest truth of why I do what I do and why I enjoy what I enjoy. And that was a long-winded explanation, as I usually do give. But again, the discussion is around your personal preferences, your tastes, your sensibilities as a hobbyist, whether it's toy collecting, model kit building, a fan or enthusiast of fiction of all sorts, whether it's cartoons, movies, literature, everything in between included. Have they changed? If so, how? I would love to have you guys partake in this discussion. I'd love to learn more about your interests and your journeys. As usual, comments in the text comment section are always welcome. And also, video responses, always welcome. As usual, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much for watching. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you at the next video.